Hiya! So my name's Leah and I'm once again back talking about some books that I read. We have 3 books this time again. It was 3 somewhat shorter ones, 1 medium I would say. So let's get started. And also it's actually not cold here, I'm just feeling cozy. So why not? First up we have H.G. Wells' The Time Machine. Never read this before, but funny enough, before I read it, I heard somewhere, or probably read somewhere, so many read, that the title doesn't really fit, and I thought that was very interesting. It's like, how can a title, The Time Machine, be a novel, a story, not about a time machine? That makes no sense. So in that way, I actually disagree, but now that I read it, I also get where they're coming from, so... Not gonna say much more, I'm gonna keep the mystery up, so who could that be? But basically this book kind of reminded me somewhat about Frankenstein. I mean, specifically the person Frankenstein, more than the story of Frankenstein, with once again a very smart person, scientist, figuring things out, building a time machine, and also, when does it take place? I don't remember. I think it's 1800s? Late 1800s, but anyway, what I meant to say was that, like, trying to convince people, but like, because he's telling people about what he's doing, and then trying to convince them that they don't think he's crazy. So that was interesting, and then you follow basically this person on their adventures. So I really enjoyed it. Solid read, easy read, it was pretty fast. But also, and it definitely didn't overstay its welcome. I'm happy about the size it is. I think bigger, it could have been maybe a bit of a drag. But so I think I gave 3.5 or 4 stars. It's absolutely solid, good book, nice adventure. I enjoyed some of the more actiony scenes, if you will. So yeah, I can absolutely recommend this one. Sci-fi in like very like gentlemanly London, and then you go somewhere else. I'm not gonna say more than that. So it was definitely an exciting read. So that's this one, H.G. Wells' The Time Machine. The next one that I read, that was very exciting for me. Here I have H.P. Lovecraft, The Shadow over Innsmouth, one of his... is there one of his famous stories, or are they all as famous? I don't know. But I think Shadow of Innsmouth, or in any case Innsmouth, many of you have heard. It's part of the Cthulhu mythos. Myself, because often when like H.P. Lovecraft is adapted or something like that, it's not so much, as I understand it, any of his specific novels that are followed. It's more like they take in the mythos, the surroundings, the gothicness of his stories, and the not even maybe often the characters, and they then use that in a story of their own, as I understand it anyway. So when I finally now read this story as he has written it, and you notice I've marked a lot in this one because I'm not a big marker, but I really enjoy this language. Didn't expect it, but I really enjoy it. What's happening with my hair? It's like standing up. Okay. Anyhow. Maybe we'll cut this out, maybe leave it in, whatever. Yeah, so I really enjoyed his language, so I had to mark them because it was some very cool sentences. So now reading, I almost lost my thread. So now reading the actual story, Shadow of Innsmouth, I'm very happy that I did, like, to have like his cohesive story. Like, what's the deal with Innsmouth, with this small little fishing village? And it was very good. It's told in a first-person perspective of an outsider who goes to Innsmouth, and yeah, and then you're basically with him when he's there, and the weird things that start happening, and it's like it has this slow build up, but not in a bad way, like in a very positive, like making you anxious kind of way, and then she goes down. I'm not gonna say what, I'm not gonna spoil, like, but stuff happens, and oh my god, I was literally terrified in certain moments because I was like like, just imagine if you were there and this was you. Also because I think it helps it's written in the first person. It's really like, Oh, it was so good. I loved it. I enjoyed it. So I'm definitely going to keep on reading H.P. Lovecraft. This was a very good first start. It's a tiny, tiny one as well. It's very small. Personally, I don't like this book that I have. I didn't know that when I bought it that it would be this weird format. It's almost like a magazine, you know? So I'm probably going to rebuy it just to have a regular pocket book. Thank you. But so anyway, 4.5 stars for me. Could be a 5, honestly. I just try to give 5 only to, like, there was nothing wrong with it, but I want to give 5 of 5 to those where I'm like, I don't know, where I know I will reread it every year, kind of a thing. And though yeah, but now I'm almost talking this book down. It was great. Read it. Awesome horror. Let's go. And lastly, number 3, we have, need to feel cozy again, this one. Oh, this one. So this one, this was my 5-star read. So this one, I loved it so much and I had no idea what. It's Ernest Hemingway, The Sun Also Rises. And I had no clue. I was just like, oh, I need to read some Hemingway. So I'm trying to go through the classical authors from different countries. And I've read Dickens and I've read Mary Shelley. So Jane Austen, of course, Charlotte England. So I was like, yeah, I need also to read some American. So I did not know if I would enjoy this. But oh my God, I loved this one. This was so good. It's... So it's about this group of friends. They're Americans, but they live in Paris, and then they eventually, in the story, end up going to Spain to a bullfight, which is why we have this beautiful cover here. And thank God there is nothing negative depicted, you know, because bullfights are not exactly nice. We were after the First World War. Yeah, exactly. So it's also about the aftermath and like mental problems for people that were in the First World War. And it's a lot about friendship, but also jealousy and love that's not possible, commitment, non-commitment. Is it love or is it desire or is it maybe even obsession? And it's so interesting and it's so good. And what I loved in this one is like every single character here felt so real. And then I read The Blur, because I think I mentioned that before. I very rarely read The Blur of a book because I find them very spoilery. Like, I don't want to know like the first big thing that happens. Most of the time they will tell that. I get it. To get people interested, you kind of need to tell what is going to happen. But personally, I dislike it. So I try to read books without reading The Blur or just reading 1 or 2 sentences of it. So anyway, when I read The Blur, so apparently Hemingway had a similar experience with his friends. So, and that's basically what they said. So I'm assuming that maybe the characters, or at least some of them, were based on his own friends. And that's so interesting because, like, truly, this felt so real. It was like, this felt like this could be a friend telling me that this happened this summer and I would totally believe it. So, oh, I don't know. I just absolutely loved it. 5-star. I swallowed this book. I could not stop reading. And also, like, I'm impressed on how detailed, maybe that's a negative thing, he explained the bullfighting and also the whole fiesta that was going on, like full 7 days, drinking, there's a lot of drinking in this one. drinking and being drunk. So there's a lot of negative, but like, that's what real human beings are. We're not perfect people that seek love and have a couple of obstacles and then succeed. This feels like a real story, and I really enjoyed it for that. And it didn't go into the gore. It even like said in the book, like the characters are suggesting to one of the females, like, oh, in this moment, look away. It's kind of scary and things like that. And yeah, I enjoyed that. Bit weird. Yeah, of course, I'm not really for animal being hurt. Poor bulls, poor horses, and whatever else gets hurt in there. And then one guy even died when they ran the bulls through the street in this one. So I'm also thinking that maybe that happened when Hemingway was there in real life, which is scary to think. But anyway, like I said, so this really feels like such a amazing story from real people, and the struggle and not giving up and yet struggling, or maybe giving up and like hiding emotions, suddenly breaking down, and it's just everything, like any I don't think I can say more. I think I made my point. So absolutely highly recommend it. This was my second Hemingway. I wish it would have been my first, because that was why I guess I was a little bit like, I just had very low expectations, to be very honest. Because the first one, for some reason, I almost need to reread it now that I'm a little bit older, because I read like 3 or 4 years ago. For me, he dragged a bit. I thought he had a lot of filler. This one, I just ate this book. It was so good. Oh, I'm definitely gonna reread it. It was lovely. Lots of emotions. Don't want to say too much. Just go and read it. And that's all. That's my 3 books for this time. I'm heading home to my family, and yeah, I'm probably not gonna make a video for 2, maybe 3 weeks. So we'll see exactly. I don't know yet what's gonna happen. But I'm gonna tackle a big book, Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell. So I'm looking forward to that. That's my vacation away from my own home book. And I'm also reading a Japanese novel right now. Seemingly, well, fiction, but well, All the Lovers in the Night is the title. So I'm assuming it has to do with relationships, but so far we're not there yet. So we'll see. So I have those 2 books. Should I manage to finish them both, I'll just buy a new one. Poor me. Yeah, so that's a little update. So it's gonna be a bit quiet for a while. Also now I've been a bit slower because I have been on vacation. It's not that I read less, that's why I now twice made a video with 3 books instead of 3 videos with 2 books. It's just it's taking less time this way for me. So yeah, been enjoying my time. Hope you have a lovely summer yourself, and see you next time. Bye.